So you're starting a business and you write a business plan for the bank and maybe your investors or maybe even yourself. And nowhere in any business plan template will you find a section on culture. You just won't. You'll find finance, you'll find marketing, you'll find market share, you'll find capacity, you'll find all this other stuff, and absolutely nowhere will you find anything on culture. And the sad thing about it is, by the time you figure out you need to do something about your culture, it's probably too late. You probably have a culture you don't want, and now you're trying to fix it. So today's guest is a guy who started a small business, like with himself, and he's now up several employees, and he's been talking about culture from the very get-go. So don't turn the dial off, turn the dial on, and listen carefully.
Welcome to the Value Bridge podcast by Aegis 360 Consulting. Our goal is to connect visionary leaders with down-to-earth insights to bridge the gap between leadership, culture, and strategy. While we learn, we will laugh and offer a roadmap for navigating the complex world of business. Enjoy and learn with guests that have been there and done that in uncovering strategies, triumphs, and challenges.
So our guest today is Adam LaFaber, my friend. So we always have an opening and a couple of closing questions. And I pick my questions for my guests. So here's your opening question. You ready?
Perfect.
If your dog could talk, what would he tell us about you?
So Moose is a character. He is a character. I'm pretty sure I yelled at him one time. He pooped and then winked at me. That happened. So what would he tell about you? I love that damn dog.
Yeah.
I just, and I hope that that's what he would, I hope that he knows that. I hope that that's what he would say about me.
He would say, Dad loves me.
He would say, Dad loves me,
Yeah.
and I know it because he shows me.
Okay.
I hope to God that's what he would say.
All right. Okay, cool. All right. So, culture, small business culture. I mean, it's a topic that, my gosh, the Gallup organization makes bazillions of dollars over, surveying people's cultures and so on and so forth. And
Right.
organizations work on it and they talk about it. But you
Talk about it.
They talk about it, yeah. But you rarely hear it out of a small business. You're up to how many employees now?
We're at 8, some mixture of full-time and contractors.
Okay.
And
All right.
yeah, we're at 8.
But you've been talking about this since day one, or really maybe day 2 or 3, but very, very early on.
I had a culture with myself.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, but it's more than just, for you anyway. It's more than a persona. It's more than just
It is.
a message to the outside. Your Hawaiian shirt says your persona and your message to the outside. That's a statement of this is Adam and this is kind of how we go about things. But your culture is very internal and very, very important, and you're serious about it. Why?
Well, because it matters, and it matters to them, right? Very often business owners do what matters to the business owner. And we talk a whole lot about what we think might matter to the team as we assemble them. But do we really do anything about it? Mm-hmm. Do we really drive that? Are we really actively participating in creating that culture? Or is it just a buzzword? Is it just some cool stuff to say out of obligation, like sustainability, like diversity, like these buzzwords? Mm-hmm. You're just supposed to do it. It's incredibly important because I want people to want to be there independently of what I give them to come there, right? So I want them, meaning compensation. Sure. I want compensation to be outside of currency. I want it to be other currencies, and that really is culture. People will what is that saying? It's people will die for compensation, but they'll go crazy for recognition. Culture, it's everything. I mean, in the workforce today, especially as we're getting younger and younger, or the employees get younger, I
Right.
guess, right? They are more flexible in how they are willing to be compensated, and that doesn't mean don't pay them. Don't hear me say don't pay them.
Right.
But that isn't the only thing that they're looking for. They will not be beholden to the almighty dollar that comes in a check every Friday. They want flexibility in their work. They want to know that they're valued. They want to see a path to where they're going. They want resources. They want some autonomy. They don't want micromanaged, yet they do want guided. They do want mentored. They do want that's where it all comes together. So, I mean, it's culture means everything. It means absolutely everything. I would be mortified if my team did not want to come to work, if they didn't want to be there. They refer to work as the third place.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
They imagine they
do.
consider work their third place.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's pretty astounding when you think about it. I mean, so you have just hired a new person that they haven't even started yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my understanding that a fairly significant piece of your interview process, if we'll call it that, or get to know you process, or we'll call it interview process, was around culture.
Yes.
And you talking about the culture you were building and wanting to build, and listening to this individual talk to you about the culture they have now and what they're looking for and so on and so forth. On a percentage basis, it's probably a hard question to answer, but skills, knowledge, experience, credentialing. Certainly there's a piece of that that's important. I mean, you're not going to hire somebody that doesn't even know what the word marketing means. You're in the marketing business. So it's not that that's not important, but on a percentage basis, where do you think that lies for you? Is it 50-50 between what I would call the hard skill stuff and the culture fit, or is it 60-40 or 70-30 or 90-10? Or maybe it's too complex to put a number on it, but
it's probably 60-40, 75-25.
60% you got to fit.
You got to fit. Yeah, I mean, you have to have competency, right? Like you have to have competency, you have to have acumen, and we can tell that. It's just through some conversation and maybe an early project, kind of try before you buy sort of thing.
Sure.
But the real deal is figuring out if this person's going to fit, because if they will fit, what they can accomplish is way beyond what their skill set is. I say very often that the hands and mouth really can only do to some degree what the heart and the brain allow. So if there is a buy-in at a higher level, skill set starts to diminish in how much that matters.
All right, I'm going to stop you there. I want you to go back to the beginning of what you just said, because I want the listeners to hear that again, at least that very first part about the heart and the brain. It kind of hit that one more time. That's impactful.
Yeah, so the hands and the mouth can only do to some level of degree of effort, they can only do to some degree what the brain and the heart will allow.
The hands and the mouth can only do to some degree of expertise. We'll throw that word in there. To what the heart, is that what you said?
The heart and the brain will allow.
And the brain will allow. So if I'm really good, if I'm the best chemist in the house, and I hate where I work because everybody around me is a jerk and my boss is a toxic,
your output's going to be here.
It's going to be here. Yeah.
If you are skilled, but you love it, and you crash through the wall to get there every day, your output will be here.
Your output will be some level above that.
That's been my experience. Yeah. And shame on me for wanting people to want to be there.
Yeah, it's just tragic.
Yeah. I mean, growing up on a farm, we had a horse. I'll tell a story real quick. We had this horse, and I know you're a mediocre horseman yourself.
I am.
And so we bought this horse, and we bought it from a barrel racer. We drove down to West Virginia, and we buy this horse, this beautiful farm, and this guy raised contesting horses, right? So barrel horses and all that stuff, pole horse, whatever. And we bought Willie. And I remember my dad asking why he was selling him. Was he not, he's not fast enough, whatever. And the answer was something along the lines of, oh no, he can fly. but you really got to beat him.
Oh.
You really, really, really got to coax him. And not, with the crop
Yeah,
and whatever.
yeah.
Not like just, and he goes, I want the horse to run, to love to run.
Oh.
I want him to love to run. He doesn't love to run, so he doesn't need to be a barrel horse.
That reminds me.
Go ride trails.
Yeah, that reminds me of the scene out of the movie Secretariat. Yeah.
Yeah. Secretariat loved to run.
Yeah. Toby, Toby was the actor's real name. I can't remember.
Was that Seahorse?
Seabiscuit, the movie Seabiscuit.
Yeah.
Not Seabiscuit, you're right.
Yeah.
He'd had a horrible accident. He's in his, hospital bed, and the jockey's going to run him, and he's in there interviewing, about him. And he said something about, I don't want to wear out his legs. And the character that played the original jockey said he doesn't run with his legs, or she doesn't run with her legs, she runs with her heart.
That's exactly my point.
Oh, that's really interesting.
That's exactly it.
So do you find do you find that you're not taken serious or not believed or questioned about the validity of the importance you're putting on culture? Do people look at you and go, "What? Are you for real?" I mean,
Yeah, I get that a lot. Is this real? Do you really mean that? And like, why not the emphasis on the other part of it? Like, there's a whole internet out there. There's a whole YouTube out there. I mean, we can learn it. Knowledge is not in question. We can find the answer to anything all over the place. You can learn how to be a brain surgeon on YouTube. So we can train pretty much anything, as long as you have sort of a proclivity and some decent competency to begin with. We can train anything if you want to be trained, if you want to learn that. Actually, I don't even like the word training. If you want to learn that, if you want to expand the brain into that specialty, and we really emphasize that as well. You come in, you get a really, really broad knowledge, and then where do you want to go deep? So it's not just, hey, come fit in. It's where do you want to fit in as well? Because the work has to matter too. Yeah, it's great that we're all fun and games and we get along, and that's wonderful. But you know what else drives culture really, really well? Actually like the work. You're allowed to like the work.
Yeah, like the work. And I think too, and this probably doesn't show itself as quite as much in your company because it's so small, but in a large organization, not only like the work you're doing, however, the other thing is, do you agree with, do you like, do you support the end work of the company? Mm-hmm. What is it we're producing? So, if I'm doing something that matters, or if I'm working for a company that does something that matters to me,
right.
That's probably the better way to put it. It's not that it doesn't matter. They're in business. It matters to somebody. But it might not matter to you. Then you're probably not interested in being there.
Right.
When my daughter was out of college and looking for a job, there was a very well-respected, great company. I mean, they're a fantastic company. And she saw a job there, and she said, "Oh, Dad," she said, "you've worked with that company." I said, "I have." She said, "Are they great?" And I said, tell you what, they invest in their people, they treat people right. It's just it's a great culture." She goes, "Oh," she goes, I think I'm going to apply for this job." Now, I know my daughter pretty well, and I go, I don't know that it's going to be such a great idea. And, I always call parenting the great experiment. None of us know what the hell we're doing.
No.
Right? So
we don't.
We just,
sure
none
don't.
of it. Absolutely none of us, right?
No.
So I'm like at that place where I don't want to tell her what to do, and I want her to experience, but also I don't want to not give her information that I have. And I go, so I pulled a trick from my dad, which was usually a one-sentence question, and then you had to answer it, and he wouldn't give you any information. And it was like really effective. So I said, so as I said, this is a great company. I said, and I know the department you want to put an application in with, and I think you would excel there. You're going to need to wear pantyhose and a skirt every day, because that's one of their unwritten cultures. And she went, yeah, no.
Moving along.
Right. And I guess the part of the story that is important about that is that her dislike of that doesn't make it a bad company.
No.
It doesn't make it a
fit.
bad culture. It makes it a bad fit.
Right.
Right? She would have gotten there and looked around and gone, what have I done to myself?
Right.
And there would have been a separation of her and the job, her and the company, and it wouldn't have ended well for anyone. And again, there's not a criticism on the organization in any way,
Right.
shape, or form. It's just who they are,
Right.
which is fine. That's completely okay. Now, we can have cultures that aren't so good. I got called years ago now by a bank in New York, found me on the internet. We'd like you to come speak to our all hands meeting, in a couple months, blah, blah, blah. And we're having a conversation with this lady. And she said, what kind of a speaker? I said, I don't use PowerPoint, and I'm a storyteller, and I like to laugh and have a good time, so there'll be some jokes and some goofing around. And she literally said to me, let me close the door to my office. I didn't think anything of it. She wasn't closing the door to her office because there was noise outside. She was closing the door to her office because she didn't want anybody to hear what she was about to tell me. And she said, you can't tell jokes, you can't be funny. I said, what do you mean I can't be funny? I don't know how to not be fun. I don't even understand what you're saying to me. And she said, our chairman, who I work for, just sent a memo out that there'll be no laughing in the workplace. And I went, you need to look for someone else. I said, Google boring speaker. You'll probably find who you're looking for.
I'm good.
I'm
Thanks.
good. I don't need to come to New York. And she said, so I really want your message. I said, I'm sorry, but I don't know any other way to deliver it. It's just who I am. And I'm not changing it because someone wants me to be boring. It's just not going to happen,
And why?
And why? Yeah,
And
exactly.
why? But I don't even want to get into why.
Yeah, the why is just.
I'm good.
Yeah, now that's a culture that I can criticize. It's like, are you kidding me? Really?
And you bring up a great point because it really is about fit, right? So the pantyhose culture, right? That's exactly where some folks want to be.
Sure, 100%.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Some folks may look at my culture and go, what are you thinking?
Right.
What are you doing? I mean, I get that.
Sure.
Like, Adam, are you really sure? Like, what are you, you're kind of turning conventional wisdom of building a company on its head. You do kind of weird things that I don't agree with, right? I'm like, good. That's also going to attract and repel, right? And it doesn't make the culture right or wrong.
Thank you.
It doesn't make it right or wrong. It makes it our culture, and it makes it a good fit for somebody. I'd like to think that having a fun culture where the team refers to the office as the third place, they come there when they don't have to. Mm-hmm. We celebrate personal milestones and accomplishments together. Is a better environment. But some people may not see it that way, and that's okay. It really is about fit. We have people leave. We've had people leave because they grew out of the work or they wanted to do, go back to school, whatever. And they struggle leaving because they don't want to leave the culture. They want to leave the work, but they don't want to leave the culture. They don't want to leave the company.
You will, if you haven't already, you will have someone leave because they don't like the culture. Mm-hmm. And that, again, I'm going to go back to the pantyhose. It doesn't make it right or good or bad. It makes it different. And it makes it out of alignment with just who I am and what I'm looking for, how I want to spend my day at work.
And that is logical. It makes perfect sense. However, I will be devastated because that makes me sad.
Well, it does make you sad, and it makes you feel like you have failed, which you haven't. I mean, you're building a culture, and not everybody's going to fit into it.
That's true.
And
I don't need everybody to.
And you don't need.
I don't.
Absolutely do not need everybody to. And I think that's the other message that we need to understand. The thing that I think is important is that we have identified, or you have identified, or the company identifies the culture. What I find troubling is when they cannot identify the culture. Right. When you cannot tell me what the culture is, then it's probably not where you want it. And that's troubling because then you're not hiring for fit, right? You're not looking for that. You're not driving certain things. And I think that's problematic if you can't. And
you brought up a second ago, what did the goals align, right? So I'm going to get my personal goals met. I'm going to get my personal needs met, my professional needs met, and then the company needs, like what is the goal of the company? And I'm also in alignment with that. That cannot be overstated. That really cannot be overstated. We had a conversation in the office the other day, and I actually think this is the trick, because culture is not up to me. I'm only one out of whatever. I just need to enhance it and allow it to happen in a positive way. We had this conversation about what is the goal of the company, and this sounds maybe altruistic, but what if we looked at building the business as a change for good? Like, this is an engine for good. Mm-hmm. If we do what we're supposed to do, it is truly, and I talk about this a lot, is this concept of a triple win, where the client wins, we win, the company wins, our company wins.
Right.
But what does that mean? Like, what is the goal of the company? And I've said this from the beginning. I didn't start a marketing company because I love marketing. I started a company because I thought I could do a better job of owning a company. And it happened to be marketing because that aligned with what I wanted to do. Those are two different things and two different reasons. The company part, if we look at this as, could I create a company that fueled everyone's life that was involved in it? That is not how folks look at this. And I think that started to create the culture right from the inception of, this is an engine for everyone involved to live their version of life that they want. Now, if we're creating a team thinking through that lens, we make different decisions. We make very different decisions because it's not always based on the bottom line. The bottom line's important because we have to be able to pay people, right?
Right.
Bottom line's important, but the bottom line isn't the be all end all. The bottom line exists to fund everyone's life. That is different. That is much different. And when they know that that's what the goal is, there's a responsibility that comes along with that. Not just to them, but to the person that they're sitting next to. We are truly in this together with our clients. These are true partnerships across internal and external, and I think you feel this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is a true partnership because everyone can win, and it's not just about going in at 8 o'clock in the morning and doing what you're doing and clocking in and clocking out and getting the paycheck. It is everyone wins after 5 too. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you do. Especially for us, much smaller company, you do a fair amount of after 5 stuff.
We do. Well, we like after 5 stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't mean just, cracking back a cocktail, but I mean you go to the Rubber Ducks, the minor league ballpark in town, and you take your group and you have a good time, and you've done some other things like that, and
right.
and just to have fun, just whatever. We're just going to have some fun. That's all. It's just.
I break another rule. I actually like these people and I care about them.
Shame on you.
I know. It's very strange. They're my people. They're my team. I am invested in them. They are trusting me with the vision that I've cast of where we're going. I do not take that lightly.
Right.
These are young folks coming out of school.
Right. Some still in school.
Some still in school. And that is not a reflection on their capabilities whatsoever. They are professionals. Mm-hmm. They are absolutely professionals at their craft. But these are young people with not a ton of experience, with not a ton of life experience. That is a responsibility on me. Right.
Right. Yeah. And you don't take that lightly.
No.
You and I have talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I do have, kind of halfway through our podcast here, I do have a question about walking in your office and
oh God,
and the culture in there. And I'm just concerned about one thing.
I can't imagine.
I just want to know if there's a cultural bias that you have about the size of your waste baskets. Do you go out and look for the smallest waste cans? I mean, every one of them is like a thimble, and I'm just trying to understand how that fits into the rest of it.
Don't make trash.
Not nice recovery, but I'm not buying it.
Don't make. I don't even know where the hell those trash cans came from. I don't even know what they are, where they came from. They bend. I smashed one the other day accidentally. If I fall on one of those things, it'll crush into like aluminum foil.
On a serious note, one of the things that I really enjoy about watching you and your team work, and again, this is unique. This is not unique to a large company. It's not unique. In fact, if this doesn't happen in a large company, it wouldn't become a large company. Mm-hmm. It is very unique, however, to an 8-person company. And that is the amount of responsibility that you give your team with your clients. Not the amount of responsibility to do their job. But yesterday was a great example. We had a call where we were interviewing one of my vendors on our tabletop business simulations to get some information, right? And you sat, you weren't even a part of the call. You were, but you weren't. You were listening in. I don't mean you weren't attentive, but you let 2 of your team members run the entire call. Mm-hmm. And I find that you do that a lot, and that's a gift that you have. I don't know that you realize that or not, to not be a micromanager. Mm-hmm. And it's sometimes really hard to not be when you're a really small organization and you're trying to make sure you don't have any missteps, because missteps are expensive, right?
They are.
They are expensive. And you really, and I've seen you do this a couple times, take a back seat to meetings with clients, especially with clients. And I find that interesting, and I'd like you to talk about that. How deliberate is it? Or is it by accident, or?
It's very deliberate, actually, and you just said why. Missteps are expensive. Education costs money. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid of the missteps.
Right.
Education costs money, whether you meant to pay for it or you paid for it because you made a misstep. Mm-hmm. Education is still expensive. So I love kind of stretching their norms. Again, they are young, right? So it is my responsibility to help them become the best version of themselves. The interesting part about that is they may end up being the best version of themselves for somebody else. They may end up elsewhere, and I can't be afraid of that either. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if we're not developing our people, and that is a big piece of it because they've not had that type of interaction and experience with clients and whatever. The other thing is that clients will say things to them that is better coming from the client than coming from me. They will take it differently, they will take it heavier, and they will respond differently to the client saying, hey, we need to do this, or hey, let's think. If I say it, it's just more work, or they're going to have an opinion. If the client says it, it's a little bit different reaction. They may still push back, but they better have a damn good reason to push back because they're talking to the client, not me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We don't have a dictatorship. I mean, that's another thing. I have to hire people that will put me in my place. I am not always right.
Now,
and that's okay too.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a guess here. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. In yesterday's meeting, I came in the office. I could have done this from my computer, but I happened to be in the area, so I came in the office for this interview that we did with Libby from Selmy. And Mallory and Lindsay were running it. You were sitting over there, and I was paying attention to everything all at one time. And you had your right ear tuned into what was going on over there. Now, you finally came around at the end. You waved, right? Hi, Libby, nice to meet you. And that was it. That was your entitle, well, other than the shirt incident, but we won't go into that.
Right.
But had you noticed that some other bit of information needed to be pulled out of that, would you have stepped in and said, I have a question also?
Only if it was critical.
Okay.
Only if it was critical. I actually liked there to be there was follow-up after you left from that meeting.
Okay.
There was insights.
Okay.
Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that?
Right.
I didn't think that there was anything critical that got missed.
Okay.
I only would have intervened if I thought that it was absolutely mission critical.
But you are there and ready to do that if you need to.
If I need to.
Okay.
Yeah. We call it guardrails.
Yeah. I like the analogy I love to talk about is the bumper rails in the bowling alley.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, so I'm not going to let you get in the gutter, but you can bounce off those things all day long.
Bounce off of them like crazy. I won't let you get in the gutter unless I think the lesson is bigger than the mishap.
The lesson might be the gutter.
I will let the lesson happen too. Like
Right.
that goes back to my sales days when we would have salespeople on the floor, and Josie would say, "Why didn't you jump in there with Shamia? You totally could have closed that." And I'm like, because I'd rather talk to Shamia about why it didn't close. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have the conversation of the failure.
Right.
That will last. If I jump in,
Right.
that's like my mom picking up all my laundry and, where's my laundry fairy? I moved out and my laundry doesn't get done. I don't understand. So I kind of want that failure to happen sometimes. That's another really weird thing about the culture too is, I think people give a lot of lip service around failure is okay and whatever. No, we actually mean it. Mm-hmm. I will actually let failure happen. I will actually manufacture failure because when are folks most receptive to have a conversation? After what they just tried did not work.
Right.
Or as I say, after they just screwed it up.
Yeah. That's why we love using simulations as a training tool, because you can fail miserably and the price there's no cost to it.
Right.
What we charge for the simulation, the service, the day, if you will, they can have 400 mess ups in there and it doesn't cost 1 penny more than if they have 5,000.
Right.
Doesn't matter. And the learning just keeps going up with every mess up they have.
There is some different weight to it being in real life, though.
Oh,
not a sandbox.
let me tell you, you better believe it. Oh,
There's some real weight, and
100%.
I'll really get looked at like I'm crazy. Like, you just let that happen, and I'm like, I did.
Yeah.
I did, because I'm playing a long game, not a short game.
Right.
We have huge goals of what we want to do here, and we want to do it together. We've had this conversation before. I could have a different organization that was probably more profitable, less moving parts. But why? I have these great people. I have these great people that have chosen to hitch a ride here.
Right.
And not hitch a ride, hitch along and go with us.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So let's drive the conversation just a little bit different. Is there a place, even in a small company like yours, for somebody that brings this really high skilled talent but doesn't quite fit the culture? Yeah.
Yes. I think you need to, there's all sorts of options at this point, right?
Okay.
There can be remote, there's hybrid, there's, maybe that person only comes in the office a couple days a week or something. Maybe they are in a role where they don't need to interact with the rest of the team, and they are that kind of person of, give me my checklist, I'll let you know when checklist is done.
Right.
If that's the case, and we do need that specialized, super technical or data-driven something or other, I have no problem with having that person be adjacent.
Yep.
But I won't bring somebody in that's going to disrupt. I won't do that.
Yeah.
If it can be complementary and there's a way to do that, then I'm certainly open to that. And we have more options now than we've ever had.
Yeah, but I think it's important, though, to point out that even remote, there's still a cultural component to that. I hired somebody to take care of our website, and I don't even know where they live. It wasn't anywhere around here. And I got them to have one on-camera meeting.
Makes me crazy.
And I kid you not, I felt like I was talking to Wilson. They literally sat behind. This is like, and they did it on purpose. Here was their cue in their home, and all I could see was this, and they kept. And I felt sorry for the person. Maybe this was probably emotionally hard for them to do. I feel sorry. I was like, I can't do this. I just can't do it.
Well, because there's, the face thing, right? I want to be able to see your face because there's all sorts of, what's that called? Microtells, and there's all sorts of context.
Right.
In our mannerisms and in our facial expressions. I can't stand when I get on a Zoom call and they leave the camera off.
Makes
me nuts.
I was looking for a software, before
Oh, good.
before Volley came back.
Oh,
I was looking for a replacement because they had gone out of business for a while.
love Volley. It's back.
God, it's back. So anyway, there was this company out there I found, and I wanted to talk. You could, do this thing, set up a call,
Yeah.
with a little online calendar thing, and they send you an automated connection. So I said, great, this is awesome. So I set it up, and, Sue and I are going to have this conversation. So now let's keep something in mind. I'm talking to a salesperson who's trying to connect with a new customer.
Right.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Did not turn on their camera. I was.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Adam, I was turned off instantly.
Sure.
Instantly turned off.
Yeah.
I went, if that's the culture of your company, and apparently it is, that's a window.
Why do the call?
Why do the call?
Why even do the call if you're not going to humanize? The whole point is the
Correct.
human connection. Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah. So they didn't get my business.
You don't say.
But it's shocking, I know. They didn't get it for two reasons. One, I was done, and we hung up, and Sue said, if you hire them, I'll beat you.
Well, we can't have an unhappy Sue.
We cannot have an unhappy
No.
Sue.
Nope.
That's not going to work.
Nope.
So-
I don't need an unhappy Sue.
No, you don't.
Nope.
Nobody needs
Nobody
an
needs an unhappy Sue.
I have found the way to her heart, though. I when she's not in the office, I leave little chocolate bits on her keyboard.
There you go.
And she walks in, and we have a happy Sue right out of the gate. Right out
That's
of the gate.
outstanding.
So, all right. So as we kind of wrap up this conversation about the culture at Digital Sandwich,
Yeah.
one of the things that you have done that I think sets this tone, I'm not sure you're aware of it.
Oh boy.
No, it's actually good. It's I look at companies, I look at their culture for a living, so I'm
Absolutely.
always, my eyes are tuned to it.
Yeah.
You're on Front Street, which is a retail area with a lot of shops and so on and so forth, and you're a business, so you're out of place
We are.
in more ways than one.
Yeah. Totally.
You've got this great logo up there. In fact, it's on your coffee cup right here. Digital Sandwich. In fact, can we show the logo right here in this coffee with cream in it, which is disgusting. The cream, not the coffee. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So you've got this on your door, and it's huge. I mean, it's huge. And in, I don't know what font, like 8 million font or something, it says agency at the bottom.
Yes.
We have learned people don't read.
They sure don't.
And you've more than once had people come in and ask for a sandwich.
Most days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for a while, you were actually giving out coupons to one of the local businesses for a discount or something.
I was. They were $10 gift cards, actually. They could literally
they
go
were?
get a sandwich. Yeah. And that was
At
it was
your
go get a
cost.
sandwich. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you realize it. It's fun, it's quirky, it's goofy, right? But there's an element to that is very much culture building. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was your intent. It was just Adam being Adam, right? So okay, this is funny. It's a little annoying, but it's funny. So I'm going to spend some of my money.
Lean into it.
But lean into it. But there's a culture building piece to that.
Yeah.
Because your staff talks about it, people joke about it. They now know how to joke about it with other people.
Right.
And that creates this whole piece to your business. And I don't know if you were even aware of it. I don't think you did it to build culture, although
No.
it does help build culture. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I mean, it speaks to that. Let's not take ourselves so seriously piece. I think that's the other thing that happens there. This all feeds into culture is we have as part of our critical actions, we have real conversations, and that's from day one. When we talk to each other, we may have hard conversations, but we're always going to have real conversations. And they're never going to be unkind conversations, even if they're difficult, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea of that is we are acknowledging that outside the four walls is where your priorities actually are. I know that I am not your number one priority. I know that Digital Sandwich is not your number one priority. Let's actually talk about why that's a good thing. Who talks like this? This is not how business owners talk, but they should, because it's true. It's just unspoken. Your life, your parents, your kids, your spouse, your bills, that's what takes number one priority. Can I just be one of them? Can we be one of them for each other? But part of that is not taking us so seriously. You know what's serious? Whatever you got going on at home. You know what's serious is whatever you got going on with your parents or whatever your kids got going on. That's what's serious. We can have fun. We can do a good job. We can care about each other. We can work together. We can build relationships. And we can also not take ourselves so damn seriously, because at the end of the day, it's not.
It really isn't.
And that's one way of making sure that that's known from day one.
There's very few of us that do heart transplants and brain surgery.
Right.
And so that's serious. That's some serious work. But even that can have an element of lightheartedness to it as they go about it, because
I think it kind of has to.
Because, if I ever got an operation, I would want to check the culture in the operating room. How many of you hate each other? Are you happy? Did you have a nice morning? Because you're about to cut me open, and I want you all in on this, baby.
Right.
And I want you serious about it, but, let's have a joke before we get in there. Right?
Yeah.
I think that there's a seriousness to that.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to close up. You ready? Who or what do you talk with the most? And I'm actually more interested in the what do you talk to the most?
This is a bit of a loaded question, isn't it? Yeah, I do. I do a lot of talking to the machines. I do. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, I don't shut off really. I'm pretty on all the time. Right. Our friend Josh says I'm typically at an 11. My baseline is an 8. Whatever.
Right.
So I mean, I have an inner circle of folks that I talk to. That circle is much smaller than it ever was, and that's intentional. And it's full of really smart people, that make me do better, whether they realize that they do or not. It's just the proximity sort of makes that happen, right? But I do a lot of talking to the AI. I ask it some questions. I bounce ideas. I'm like, what do you think about this? What am I forgetting? And honestly, that's probably my favorite use case. Iteration, ideation. It's probably my favorite use case for generative AI anyway.
Okay. All right. Now, the one question we ask all of our guests here.
Great.
What's your favorite cuss word?
It's the F word.
What's your favorite cuss word?
It is absolutely my favorite, because it's like Smurf. It can mean anything.
It can mean anything.
I'm going to Smurf you right off your feet. This Smurfing person. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Smurf. I can use it in any context.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, like a child.
Like a child. Hey, man, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So you heard it here. If you're wondering about culture, I'm going to invite you to have a conversation with your dashboard about it, your shower about it, maybe somebody else about it. If you want to know what the culture in your organization is like, there's all sorts of things you can do, but I'll tell you one of the easy ones. Watch a new employee's behaviors change on day 91. Day 91 is the first day after their probation, and they'll start acting like everybody else. And the minute you see that, you'll understand what some of the internal culture is. Have a great one.
You have been listening to the Value Bridge podcast, a monthly 45 minutes or less of pithy, relevant, and helpful advice on everything business.